So I'm Georgie Honey Badger Walkins, the top MMA fighter in the Caribbean, #1 Pong for Pong MMA fighter in the Caribbean. And here we are with the TGI winner. We are the champions this year.
I wanted to bring a tournament that was submission only, and some of the top teams right now. I'm super excited to have it. It's been exciting, electrifying matches. I mean, we want to invite teams from all over the Caribbean, and you know, we want to get the sponsorship to do that.
All right, guys. So today I'm here with Robert de Gannes, the creator of TGI, that's Team Grappling Invitational. I got that right?
Yes.
Awesome. So Robert has developed a competition of grappling, mainly no-gi grappling. It's phenomenal, doing great things, amazing things in Trinidad. So Robert, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started off in martial arts, and give us the journey.
Absolutely. So I was about 12 or 13, and I would sometimes I'd spend nights by my cousin, and ever so often he would go to these judo tournaments, and they would kind of like leave me at home. I'm like, well, I don't know, like I want to come. So he was doing judo for a while, and that actually got me kind of interested into doing a martial art. And at the time, everybody I knew that was into karate was a bit of a dick. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that if I'm going to turn into a mean person. Yeah. So I was like, well, let me try out judo, and tried it when I was like 14 and fell in love with it, and have done that pretty much, up until I was 30. I mean, there were some breaks in between because of life, but definitely, it's the martial art that started it all for me. I've been doing it. I like to say I've been doing judo for more than half my life.
Oh, you did any other martial arts?
Yeah. Okay. So now I got my black belt in judo just about when I turned 30, and I said, okay, cool, let me do something else. And I thought, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time, it had gotten really big because of UFC. Yeah. They had some clubs here, and I said, well, okay, it's the closest thing to judo. My sensei famously says, BJJ stands for basically just judo. And I was like, well, cool, I can just transition to this really easy, faster than I would maybe a striking art. So I got into that. I'm 4-stripe blue in BJJ, and I'm growing up for purple in January. Fingers crossed that I get through that.
Cool. In
between all of that, I trained for 3 years in Rough House to have an amateur MMA bout. And unfortunately, the day of the bout, my opponent got pulled for a medical reason. So it turned into an exhibition kickboxing match. But I had a great time. And I think, big UFC fan, I never wanted to get in to be the guy in the bar that says, oh, I could do that. I wanted to be the guy that says, I've done that. I don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
So that's my story a bit. Yeah.
How was the transition from judo to BJJ? Like, what are the things you needed to change? You had to rethink a strategy. The training was different. What was it like making that switch?
I think going from gi to no gi is just a massive culture shock for a while. Yeah. Because all the grips that you normally have, they aren't there. All the techniques that are like so slick with the gi just aren't there. But once you get that I think is fine. But the other thing that I think is a big shift is that judo is, because of the way sport judo is played, where if you stall someone, you reset. Judo encourages a kind of like go to guard, turtle up and wait, whereas BJJ will punish that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other shift that I had to get into. Like, it's fine in judo to just stall,
Yeah.
and it'd be okay, but BJJ, that can really be penalized.
Cool. Your journey into martial arts, did popular media inspire, movies, actors, anime,
I
anything like that?
I think I think that I didn't have any one persona that I was like, I want to emulate this person specifically. Though I will say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a
Yeah.
big Raphael fan,
Yeah.
and that's who I would like run around the house and pretend to be. So I grew up with Power Rangers, Chuck Norris, and Van Damme, but martial arts had never been for me like I want to beat people up. I think it was more of a I want to be able to protect myself.
Okay.
So I think the motivation didn't come from popular media like that. I mean, like every kid loved, Samurai X and
Yeah.
X-Men and all that stuff, but I didn't look at that and be like, I want to be like this guy.
Awesome. Awesome. Where did you get started? You have a specific location, coach?
So I started at Queen's Park Judo Club. Shout out to Mark Latren, since he's still teaching there. And that went from different locations. We were actually in the storeroom under the stairs in the National Stadium. Wow. And that grew from there. They moved to a place in Picton Street, and then they moved to where they are now in Cascade, which is actually walking distance from my house. So they've grown a lot, and credit to Sensei Mark. He has always been a phenomenal judo sensei, and really someone that he coached and grew one of our first and only judo Olympian in Chris George. So shout out to Chris as well. So, it's been a great foundation. And I think a lot of what the tenets of martial arts have really just helped me in life. I'm a big believer in sort of mutual benefit and prosperity. And therefore, I try to extol those virtues in my life.
Yeah. Cool. Any challenges that you face with training? I know some people come in with, some people have ADHD, some people have different conditions. You have anything that kind of would have normally hampered you, but you found helped you in some way or form?
Yeah. So I was what's called adult diagnosed ADHD.
Okay.
It was a sort of shocking thing. It was fairly emotional at the time. But I realized that as a teen, one of the benefits I got from judo was that it's impossible for like the monkey brain inside of you that feels like it's being attacked to focus on anything else. So life became very narrow when you're in that moment, when you're sparring with someone, when you're trying to throw them, they're trying to throw you. And there's a freedom there. There's a freedom of like, not that I can't think of anything else, but I don't want to. I'm singular focused, and it's good. I didn't really have the type of ADHD that gets too hyper focused until much later in my life. I was just sort of like easily distracted. And I realized that part of martial arts was really like my own coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have meds. I didn't know what I had, I just lived. And that martial arts has always been, and I realized to a greater extent, exercise in general. I need to be active 3 days a week, or I'm going to go stir crazy. It's really a thing for me. And it's really been a great help. I mean, through highs and lows, there's every period of my life I've tried to keep active, and that has really helped with the ADHD, but it's also helped in depression, things going wrong in life. It's hard to feel bad after a workout or a session, and especially if you're frustrated. There's something about hitting pads, man, hitting a bag that just gets frustration out like nothing else.
And so that means that training actually helped you center your focus. It helped you clear up the noise. I suppose that freedom, that harmony that it created, that central focus put you in a position where now You don't have to really feel, I wouldn't say confused, overwhelmed with all the stimuli, because now you have to focus on that one thing.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm pretty open about this. Some people aren't, but like I had to learn, I had to like brute force my understanding of my own ADHD,
Yeah.
which, you know, I don't recommend to anybody. It sucks. But I learned things like I can be overstimulated. Like there can be too much noise in an environment for me. So I've realized that I've worked in a couple of offices where it's open plan.
Yeah.
And that is so bad for me. And just for me personally and how I work, I'm so easily distracted. I end up chit-chatting with my coworkers, but also something like a dripping tap will
Yeah.
literally give me an anxiety attack just because it's so annoying. So having that outlet, amazing. And I've learned too that I realize that I can be like, listen, this environment is not good for me right now. I need to take a step back. And, you know, shout out to my wife as well. She understands that. So when I'm in a scenario, like if it's a restaurant that's really noisy, I'll turn to her and say, I need 5 minutes. I'm just going to go to the bathroom and it's just going to be quiet because I'm overstimulated right now. Whereas on the mats, there's nothing like that because you're just a different part of your brain is active. The noise quiets down, and it's so beneficial. And I think I may have mentioned this to you when we were chatting before, but I remember seeing I used to volunteer ever so often at the dojo, and there's a kid there with severe ADHD, like couldn't sit still. And I saw, you know, I saw a bit of myself in him, and I was like, wow, you know, there's a big difference when he's on them. Like when he's looking at the technique, oh man, he's rocking and he's almost like a fiend. But when he's active, it's a whole different person. And I think parents, if you have a child with ADHD, you know they're bouncing off the walls generally with energy. And he still has energy at the end of an hour and a half class. It's not going to kill his energy, but it's going to give him a little bit of peace. I think absolutely, if you have kids with ADHD, I can't recommend it enough. Get them into a sport. It doesn't have to be a martial art, but certainly a sport.
Yeah, but they did find that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was very good at people like with ADHD, because Mikey Musimechi,
Yeah.
world champion right now with the UFC BJJ wing, is actually doing very well, and he found that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually centered him, and because it's a superpower for him, because you know how there are so many possibilities with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it helps him go through these possibilities, and he's become a fiend in the detail. Right, so it centered him, but it gave him some place to hone that ability. I don't believe ADHD or any of these conditions is a limitation. I believe it's a superpower. But of course, like all things, if you're an eagle around ducks, you live your whole life thinking that there's something wrong with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think to that point, like I think Andrew Tackett as well says he has ADHD, and you see the dynamism in the way they play, and maybe this has something to do with it. Like, because I don't know if Gordon Ryan has ADHD, but he's phenomenal. It's definitely, there's a one side of it is like it quiets the mind, but it also presents to you, and this is where the hyperfocus comes in, right? These guys are like, they get into the detail, and that I've seen myself. I've gotten into hyperfocus modes before with certain things, and you can, if you find your passion, like ADHD people will get lost for 4 or 5 hours doing one thing because it's like, oh, this is so cool. But then you try to, I used to ask myself, like, why is it physically painful for me to sit and read this textbook? Like I felt bad doing it. I felt hurt. But then you get me something I'm passionate about, we'll talk about it for hours. So it is a superpower for sure. It's just not, it's not one we can wield on things that we choose.
True.
You know, whatever you're passionate about, you just nerd out on that.
True. So now let's go into TGI. What was your inspiration to get this phenomenal event started? I mean, there's nothing else like it in the Caribbean region at that moment. I mean, you get these things in the States, in the UK, but coming with that in the Caribbean, what was that inspiration? What spark went off in your head and made you say, we should do this?
So there's a couple things, right? There are big competitions locally, right? In Trinidad, where I'm based. Dragons Cup, you know, is a great competition. but it's all individual. So there are a couple of things that were frustrating about this experience. One, you know, they were massive, so it took forever. And I'm in the top weight class, right? I'm 225.
Yeah.
I had to wait all day. I get there at 9 a.m. and I don't compete until 4 p.m. And then very likely because the industry, like, it's thriving in the Caribbean, but it's still small. So my bracket might be 3 guys.
Yeah.
So I've waited 8 hours on a Saturday to get maybe 15 minutes of competition
Mat time,
of mat time. And, you know, cool, everybody gets a medal, things like that. And then, you know, I'm getting older. I decided I'm going to step back from competing because I have both my knees and I like them and I want to keep them. And some of these guys go really hard for what I think is, it's a $100 trophy, right? This event doesn't have any comprehensive medical insurance that if I blow my knee out, that I'm going to get it repaired. So I looked at all of those things. I'm like, so it's risk. I want to step back. But I realized that, okay, let me build a competition that I want to go to, that I want to be like, this is going to be cool. And I think inevitably, when you have gyms, like the Jiu-Jitsu community in Trinidad, I think is a very close community. Like, we all support each other, but there is no way to not have rivalries.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know who's the best gym, right? At the end of the day, we could be best friends. I still want to know my gym kicks your gym, right?
Yeah.
So I said, all right, well, let's do that. And I'd heard about the quintet format, and I looked at that and I said, that would actually be pretty cool. We've got enough gyms here to do that. So I said, let's do a quartet format because you know, it's a smaller community, and then let's put a cash prize. Let's really make it more than bragging rights. Let's make it, oh wow, okay, I'm gonna go hard. I'm willing to go a bit harder because I know there's money on the line.
There's money.
And I brought that to the gyms, and everybody was really excited. Everybody was like, this sounds great. The other thing too, so we've got the team format, the big cash prize. The other thing that I found boring was I've lost, and this is maybe just a petty revenge thing, but I've lost matches where the guys were up on points and they just stalled and they were just like, well, I'm not going to move. And I just thought, one, it's boring and frustrating for the guys, but it's also boring and frustrating to look at, right? I mean, people boo in UFC when they're laying there and there may be punches.
Yeah.
If somebody's just laying on you for 4 minutes, like, who wants to look at that? It's boring. So I was like, let's get something exciting, submission only.
Yeah.
Make it team format, so there's a little bit of strategy involved, and let's put a big cash prize so that people are like, even if they don't know that, oh, we might not be the best, they're still going to go for it because the strategy can allow you to knock out their strongest guy with your weakest one. You can plan your match order in that way. So I looked at the local scene and I said, right, there's something sufficiently different that none of these competitions can say, well, you're taking it away from us.
Yeah.
And it's something that's going to be really interesting for the gyms to actually push and train towards. So team format, cash prize, submission only. And the result was phenomenal. All the guys. So first of all, we started at 12 in the middle of the day and we were done at 4.
Nice.
Everybody's like, this was amazing. Nice. So that's 1. 2, guys were coming up to me afterwards like, this was so great. I got so many matches in. I had so much fun. Amazing. Because the worst part is to pay, well, not really the worst part. One of the worst parts is you pay your money, you get prepped, maybe you get wrecked in the first round, and that's it. You might be knocked out right there. That's no fun. So you want to get options to play, and the guys got tons of time. And the coaches came back and they were like, 1, fantastic event running. Because when you have teams, you're not saying, Volt, be on deck, Rob, be on deck, looking for people and stuff like that. You know exactly the next 4 matches because they're sitting down on benches. They're waiting to go in 1. So it moves faster. It's more interesting to look at because even the matches that ended in draws had guys pushing for finishes at all the way to the end. There's a clip on the YouTube at TGI.868 where 2 guys are both going for leg locks and they're both cranking it, and then one guy kind of like peeks at the clock and he cranks. They're going for it. That's much more exciting to look at.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so
that, cool.
That inspiration was I wanted to do something different, wanted to bring something, and we had it in August 2025. look out for it again in August 2026.
Yeah, and to add to your point, for those who actually attended or viewed the Barbados BJJ competition, which is an amazing event in and of itself, we still had a long wait, and it was a case where we will call for an event here, and then while you're in the middle of a match or when you just done one, you have to go to another one. And then there are times where I think we started for like 10 a.m. and we were done all the way by 6, 7. So it was a bit of a challenge because that entire time I know I was competing. One of your guys were there. I think it was James, right?
James Pizzas, yeah.
Awesome grappler, awesome grappler. I hope to go against him again someday. Hopefully he can come to St. Lucia. And I'll get to the St. Lucia part soon. But when you have to go for a competition, you know you can't eat heavy. You're there from morning. It can be frustrating and tiring. And you want to ensure that, hey, I can survive this entire thing and that I'm always at my best. When it's shorter and you know it's one bam, it's one after the next, you can always be at almost 100%. I mean, over time, when you're going at it, you know, you're getting tired and stuff. But you wouldn't have to wait 6, 7, 8 hours
Yeah.
for you
Yeah,
to get your
100%.
match and for you to know what's happening with your team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that alone, that time efficiency, makes it a point that is not only rewarding, but beneficial for the athlete as well and for the persons watching. Because,
Yeah.
of course, submissions, that's what we're going for. As you said, people don't have to stall, they don't have to hold you, they don't have to pin you, and they have to come up with a strategy. Because sometimes you're going against a much more experienced guy and you get him in a dominant position, but you can't go further because he has such a good defense. You
Yeah.
may not
Yeah.
win that match. You may have to go to a
A
draw,
draw. Yeah.
but then your next team member who may be more experienced can take up the weight.
Yeah. I think that I like that part about it, especially because there are definitely within Trinidad, there are certain gyms that are certainly top tier, right? And there are other gyms that are, they're good guys, but they're low. But the fact that you can match up,
Yeah.
if I stall their best guy out, he's out. We're both out, which means that with the right strategy, even perceivably weaker teams can do well and better in the long run. So it's more of a chess match now because it's strategy about who I put in against who and not just how good they are in general.
Cool. So now tell me more about the entire rule set. We know it's fours, so it's a team of
Yeah.
4, right?
Yeah.
What's the round times? How many rounds do they get?
Sure.
Is it round robin? Is it elimination? To give me a little bit more about how the competition actually
The
works.
details.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what the initial plan was to get 8 teams.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of timing, different things, we ended up with 5. Not a big deal. So 5 allowed us to do a round robin format. If we get the 8 teams that we're looking for, what we're going to do is a first round elimination and then go into round robin.
Okay.
So it'd be 8 teams down to 4 and then 4 teams round robin. Either way, what we want to do is give people as much chance to compete as possible, right? We don't want people getting knocked out right away. So we work it out. So that's the round set. What we're doing is 5-minute rounds, 1 minute rest in between.
Yeah.
And what happens is submission only. There are no points. There's no advantage. We're not playing, I think it's EBI rules where if there's no winner, if you win, you get submission, your team gets 3 points, the other team gets 0. If there's a draw and there's no winner, at the end of that, you both get 1 point. And then if at the end of the round, at the end of the matches, all 4 matches have gone, that you're both on the same amount of points, what you do is you guys put up 1 competitor each. They go for 5 minutes again. And if there's no winner at that point, they then do a sudden death for the first, whoever gets the first point. So take down, things like that. It hasn't happened yet. We had people always going for the submission, and that's what I liked about it. There were guys who were going straight through to the end, and it worked out that way. So those are the points. The rule set in terms of submissions, I wanted to keep it pretty broad because there are a handful of guys who are brown belt, purple belt, and upwards. But I wanted to keep it so that, all right, there are more white belts and blue belts, so let's make it a white and blue belt competition.
Okay.
So as a result, certain techniques are not allowed, right? Where there's no knee reaping, there's no if I'm remembering correctly, I think we took out knee bars, and then the the couple, in terms of the team size, normally with a quintet, you would have a 125 pounder, a 145 pounder, and so on. With this, I tried to do it a little bit different. I said there's a total weight limit.
Okay.
Your entire team cannot weigh more than 725 pounds.
Okay.
And we also allowed people to have an alternate in case of injury. So you had 4 team members and then 1 alternate. And whoever you swapped with, that alternate could not then add up to more than 725.
Okay.
So I think it was very fair. It gave an average weight of like 175. So on the lighter side, but that's typically what you see in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of the grapplers are under 175. So it worked out fairly well. So that's the rule set. And yeah, it came down to total points at the end of that round robin competition. And Hit Fit ran away with it very famously on the back of Joshua James hitting, I think, 12 leg locks or something like that. When I was looking at the highlight reel, Joshua James was just, I think he had like 1 rear naked choke. Everything else was a leg lock.
It was a leg lock, yeah.
Yeah.
I did see that Joshua has been ripping it up. I think he just came from Pan American Championship for bronze.
Yeah.
And he's been ripping it up. He's been tearing it up. And we all know, well, Joash has been there for quite a while, being a veteran in MMA himself and being BJJ. What about the genders? Do we have females in the competition as well, or is it just male? What's that like in terms of, is it gender neutral?
So it's gender neutral. I think that the inevitability of women in martial arts is that they are typically a small minority.
Yeah.
I have been suggested by other coaches, like, make it mandatory that there's at least 1 woman on the team.
Okay.
And I've thought about that. Sure. My whole goal is to pull something together that is very inclusive. We're not doing kids because that I don't want grand prizes for kids that parents start to get involved and that whole thing. Teens and above, and certainly I want women included. I just need to find a way that makes sense so that I don't then disqualify gyms that just happen to not have women in the gym.
Yeah.
And that's a reality of the sport. Not every gym has a lot of women. It is a small thing, and not all women enjoy being manhandled like that. My wife is not a fan of it. She tried it once or twice, and she's like, "Other people sweat? No, thank you."
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the challenge? I know you want to have future events. Are you interested in getting like sponsors involved? You get more, because at the end of the day, the more teams you can get, if you have sponsors or you have other countries, how would that work out for you?
100%. I want it to truly be an invitational.
Yeah.
I want to be able to look at the teams that competed in the Barbados Caribbean BJJ Championships and say, I'm inviting your team so that there's no cost. But of course, there's costs associated with that. When you flying in between the Caribbean is fairly expensive.
Now, yeah.
And, you're not just flying 1 person, you're flying 5 people plus a coach and maybe other friends. Then you have to put them up in hotels or something like that. So I'd love to get the sponsorship to get to that level. I want this to become the region's sort of, it's a team competition. Who's the best, baddest BJJ or MMA gym in the Caribbean and in quality of fight of roster? Because it's easy for each gym probably has 1 or 2 standout guys.
Yeah.
But for you to have a truly great gym, all of your guys need to be good. And that's what's shown in the TGI. You see, okay, this is the caliber of coaching because all of the guys are really good. And I say guys as a gender neutral term. Nobody come for me. But yeah, like, it's easy to have 1 really athletic, really prospering person. So we're looking for sponsors. If you're seeing this, hit me up on @TGI.868. One of the things we want to bring to the table for sponsors is, it's not just give me some money, I'll put your logo on our content. It is, we want to embed the sponsors into the brand in a way that most sponsors don't think about it. So, if when you finish in jiu-jitsu, you go home, you don't just shower, with regular soap. You shower with antibacterial soap because nobody wants to dread staph infection, right? After what we call an open mat, people get together and they have drinks, they have beers. Not everybody drinks beers. Sometimes, so there's space for sponsors that don't even realize that they're in that space. You know, we think about keeping the gym clean. There's tons of disinfectants that people use. Like there's lots of products that people are like, oh, well, we're a family product. I've never met bigger families than jiu-jitsu and martial arts families. They're very, super close.
Yeah.
So there's space for a lot of sponsors, and what we want to offer them is to create content that's interesting rather than just say, hey, give us some money, let us do this. So really hoping to expand it. I have started reaching out to different gyms to start letting them know, hey, next year, August 29th, 2026, you're very welcome to come. We'll do our best to accommodate you guys. And that's, you know, it's one thing I want to say about the jiu-jitsu community globally. I have never been turned away from a gym, except for Gracie Barra, but that's for different reasons. And it's nothing nefarious. Gracie Barra is a very specific thing. But they're always welcoming. They're always happy to have people. And the same way, you know, we sent James to Barbados, and they let James and Jarrell stay in the dojo. Like, you don't do that with people that you're not trying to foster relationships with. So we want to extend that same courtesy to Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, Jamaica, anywhere in the Caribbean that wants to compete and wants to show that their team is really solid. TGI is here for you. We want to increase that cash prize so it makes it even more exciting. 2025 was $4,000. Let's see if we get that to 10 and really make those teams really push for it.
I've found that some of the nicest people are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people. I don't know if it's because of that close proximity we have with training with each other. It's like not to go too rash, but it's like it's a lover. You're so close to them, you know, you get that feel, there's that chemistry, there's that harmony that it creates. I still have to give the shout out to St. Lucia BJJ, because Merv Steele, the head coach there, he ensures that there's such a brotherly kind of family-oriented kind of mentality, and that brings it back with regards to the sponsors as well, because each of the members have a family, they have kids, you understand? So that's how you could draw in, we could draw in the family aspect, the community aspect for brands like disinfectants, soaps, deodorants. I mean, you can't come on the mat smelling like last year's goat cheese. You have to come. You want to come get clean.
I think every jiu-jitsu person has rolled with at least one person who should have taken a shower before coming on the mats, for sure. And you try to be nice to them and say, guys, buddy, that ain't working today. So I appreciate that. One thing about the, oh man, I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. ADHD again.
Yeah, it happens. But at the end of the day, you have a story. And I want to know that story.